Here's a little talk about the electronic resonance and photonic coherence in microtubules as an explanation for the energetic factors of life. If we look into the cell and see these different microtubules and all the different processes, we have to understand that all of these processes are photonic. There's photons absorbed and released. Just like we have the photonic action in this cell, this image is supplied to this cell, this TV cell, by photons. Now, if we weigh the set on and off, we see that the photon has no mass, so the information has no mass. We tear into the back of the television, into that cell. We can't find that skier, okay? And what we find is that there is inside this microtubule a type of consciousness, and photon. How is this little guy, this kinesin, there's 100,000 of these guys in every cell, and they're making work. They're carrying protein, fatty acids, other different things to different areas on microtubules, and lo and behold, that microtubule is being assembled in front of them. This is not a chemical process. This is an electromagnetic photonic process that is guiding these factors. And now we can start to understand the quantum electrophysical nature of this photonic process and understand it a lot better. As we look into the ideas of this making this type of microtubule, we will find out that it is responsive to an electrical environment. The electrical stimulation makes this possible, as we can see from the different values. You see, all of life has an electrical nature, and that electrical nature is also photonic.
Tubules are present in the cilia that single-celled life forms use to swim, and they form much of the cytoskeleton of all cells, where they fluctuate between states of growth and dissolution. But neurons throughout the body are filled with microtubules of a stable length, which support a neuron's delicate filamentary forms. Some defy our common sense expectations of cell size and communication, like the human sciatic nerve, where single neurons may span a meter in length from the spine to the foot.
There's incredible differentiation. Even though the DNA is exactly the same, there is differentiation in the cells attributed to the photonic nature.
Microtubules transport various materials accurately across long distances, even organelles, like the energy-producing mitochondria. Packages are guided along the surface of microtubules by various motor proteins, which interact with the tiny tau proteins on the microtubule surface, like road signs. But meanwhile, under the microtubule surface, a rich domain of electrical activity and quantum effects has garnered attention from researchers exploring quantum computing. Within the tubulin proteins which a microtubule is made of, an array of electron-conducting hydrophobic pockets allow energy to pass through each tubulin in multiple potential directions. This forms a larger network of possible patterns that energy can exist in the cylindrical lattice.
The wash of photons that is around everything, all this wash of photons, visible, heat, etc. And many of these are just random photons, but there are coherent radiation which is used to communicate effect. Sometimes a little kinesin guy gets stuck, he can't move a different protein. You see, because his job is to take proteins from the nucleus here, out through these microtubules to different areas. You see, he's carrying these things. He's carrying them in and out. And he's there to help to process and communicate. And sometimes when they get stuck, these little guys, they need help. They gotta build another guy or call another kinesin to help them. How do they do that? It's through a photon process, as all of life is photonic in its nature. And all of these things act as different types of antenna. We understand antenna function from electromagnetic wave reception. And then we see that the cell wall, the plant, also has a factor of receiving the infrared information for metabolism, and that inside the nucleus there's a way that the DNA can act as a receiver of a different visible light pattern information for it to create mitosis, a factor known as mitogenic radiation of photons.
In each hydrophobic pocket, the electron clouds of indole and phenylalanine rings may become shifted one way or another. Much like a bit of data in a computer, a 1 or a 0, this quantum bit can also exist in a state of quantum superposition between both states. This alters the pathways that energy can inhabit in the microtubule. This can be observed using quantum imaging techniques.
Yes, quantum imaging techniques can help to tell us the different energy states that the photons have created in the electrons.
It appears that such energy inhabiting the microtubule also possesses phase coherence. The microtubule has no change in direct current resistance, regardless of its length, and possesses other traits of coherence.
Yes, we need coherent type of radiation in order to communicate, in order to get work done. Because we have incoherent light, but we can accomplish coherent light through the fact of wavelength filters, etc. We have to understand thermal light versus the coherent light. And inside a system, if there is a photon stimulated by emission, it can have a coherent light effect. This can have effects on the tissue. Now, as we've been able to show through the different research since 1980, metabolism is controlled and modulated through an infrared radiation where visible light is used to stimulate mitosis, mitogenic radiation. And we've been able to chart out that the size of all of biology, all of these cells, is correspondent to the type of photon information, the antenna effect, and all this information coming out. And now a whole new biology happens, a whole new medicine based on photons.
While each hydrophobic pocket might constitute a quantum bit depending on how its electron cloud is shifted, the larger pathways for energy throughout the microtubule lattice may themselves be quantum bits. This is called a topological qubit. But such properties suddenly vanish if a microtubule's inner core of water molecules is drained. It is speculated that the hydrogen and oxygen bonds serve as a medium through which the electronic resonance of surrounding tubulins becomes integrated and synchronized. The tubulin pockets of a microtubule are capable of a feat of synchronization that sounds even more impressive still. In a heat bath flanked by electrodes, a pumping of electromagnetic energy stimulates the tubulin to achieve synchronous vibration with one another, forming into long sheets, and then rolling to form microtubules.
Isaacs postulated way back in the 60s that the water might be able to help focus a light to be coherent, to be able to work on its electromagnetic pumping action.
Even without GTP, a nucleotide normally involved in the adding of tubulins onto the microtubule lattice, these synchronous oscillations in tubulin protein, excited by alternating current, are enough to form microtubules with their classic cylindrical structure.
Tuning to the frequency is very important, but knowing what's on the carrier wave, what the information is being carried by that frequency, that's even another deeper step into the idea of photonic biology.
On the more theoretical end of microtubule research, Stuart Hameroff and Roger Penrose are well known for their theory that our experience of consciousness, our qualia, of what it feels like to be aware, is directly related in some way to the large-scale orchestration of quantum superposition in microtubules.
A quantum superimposition and transfer due to photons. Every action is a photon absorbed and or emitted, so all of life is definitely photonic.
Each moment of this surely occurs at timescales far faster than we are conscious of, but builds into a state of feeling conscious as we examine the world around us.
Nobody can be truly conscious of the actual events of the electromagnetic actions of every electron. We can't even really feel that. Consciousness is kind of like the guy here, the skier in the television. It really is the software. It's an image drawn by the photons that has come to view and come to manifest by the physical nature of the TV set.
Dr. Hameroff is taking part in research to cure the dissolution of memory seen in Alzheimer's by stimulating the correct growth of brain microtubules using transcranial ultrasound.
Ultrasound is one thing. Now, what we've been able to find is that the area of 28,000 hertz could help to break up that plaque of the Alzheimer's, and we've been able to do different types of research. But going beyond that, we recognize that there are photons, and we published this research about all the different photons and electrons and how we could help the Alzheimer's patient.
Today we're going to be talking about Alzheimer's. Here we have the eductor, and this eductor now is working on an Alzheimer's patient. In our studies on Alzheimer's, we've been able to find that blue light helps to stimulate the memory, stimulate the brain for memory, and that by using the eductor to put in an electrical stimulation and combining it with the cybermagnetic chair, we could produce a magnetic stimulation that would help to send different frequencies into the body electrically, magnetically, and also with sound. We have a special type of sound system here with the special headphones that can play a large sound into the system, as we see here with the big system, the biofeedback interface graphics, monitoring the energy going in and out, that a certain sound played very strongly would help to, as an ultrasound, break up the plaque and stimulate rebuilding of the system and help to cure our Alzheimer's patients. Our studies have been very, very encouraging as we've been helping Alzheimer's people to recover their different function and to stop the decay. This is a combination of diet, holistic efforts, telling them to remove the high glycemic bad foods, put in the good foods, and through a process of electromagnetic, sonic, vibrational medicine to help to restore functioning and stop the decay in the Alzheimer's patient.
So we have to let go of the old idea of the chemicals in order to really understand the energy that forms consciousness, forms thought, forms communication, forms life. That how photons, just like they work in the television, as is said, also these photons are working inside our cells, inside our minds, inside our biology, to bring us health and wellness. And a whole new science of medicine falls out of this, photonics.